first,
Okay,
and then we have a presentation from the Assistant City Attorney. I'd like to do that next, and then we will have A at the very end. So I'm going to add an extra item in there.
okay. You want the presentation before after the new
Right.
commission? Got
So
it.
we'll do B first, then we'll let the Assistant City Attorney do her presentation, and then A will be last.
Okay. Any other changes or any
Oh.
opposition?
Real quick, I'm going to just read it on the record. Member Caitlin Kaufman, or Katie Kaufman, had to abstain herself last week, and so she filled out the Form 8B and signed it. So I just want to make sure it's on the record, and I have it, and it will be available. Okay.
All right, thank you. Next, we have approval of the minutes for the Historic Preservation Commission, June 11th, 2025 meeting minutes. Everyone had a chance to review that. Any changes, errors, omissions?
I think there was one change Ms. Beretta Herman brought up to my attention. There was a date. I think I put 2001. It should have been like 2018 or 19. I don't know why I didn't put that, but I'm going to make that change to make sure it's correct in there. It's for the Donna Dean Miller Award, the date of actually when the woman's house was there at that time, or the date of that. So that's it.
All right, hearing none other, can I have approval?
So moved.
And anyone object? All in favor?
No, do we have a
We need
second?
a second.
I've been out of it for a while.
I know. Make a motion, somebody make a motion? Yes.
Sorry. Yes.
I believe
Yeah.
Miss Dr. Beretta Herman made a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah.
We have a second. Now Stephanie can call.
Okay, Stephanie.
Okay. Member Beretta Herman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bean,
Bone, yes.
Bone.
Bone, I'm sorry, Bone.
Bean, bone,
Bone.
bam.
We've
boom.
all been out of practice.
Whoa. Member Bean,
Yes.
Member Kaufman,
Yes.
Member Bledsoe,
Yes.
and Chair Reese.
Yes.
On the motion to approve the June 11, 2025 regular meeting minutes with the change and as submitted, the vote is 6 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you. And now, next in order, public participation. If there's any public participation, you have 3 minutes, unless for any item that is not on tonight's agenda. Would you like to have anything to say? Not to put you on the spot, but seeing no one here, public hearing is closed. New business. So we're going to move to the new commissioners,
Yes.
correct?
So on your script, I've got you.
I am going to move to new
Yes.
commissioners. All right.
Yes, you will introduce the new commission.
All right, new commissioners. We have 2 new commissioners that have been appointed by the city commission. We also have a current commissioner that has been reappointed. So I'd like to welcome our new member, Diane Bean, to the commission and congratulate Katie. Ms. Bean, is there anything you would like to say or introduce yourself and give a little background? The floor is yours.
Yes, I've always been interested in historic preservation and historic homes. I've personally renovated 5 historic homes and currently live in 1. And I've served on some commissions here in town that were related to the historic preservation. We gave out awards for those that had done exemplary jobs on redoing their historic homes. So I think that's kind of the main gist of why I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, well, we appreciate your service to volunteer with our committee. And Ms. Kaufman, would you like to address the commission on your
Well,
reappointment?
I'm excited to be back, and thank you for allowing me to serve my 2nd term here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We also have a second new commission member, Jana Caswell, but she was unable to attend tonight. So perhaps we can introduce her to the commission at the next meeting. And so next would be a presentation. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to do a basic review. For the new commissioner, this will be helpful, and for all of you, it's just a refresher. It's always good to refresh what we know and what we learn, so we're going to review some of Chapter 50 guidelines, our authority, and motion making. Basically, Chapter 50 is where we get our authority for what you all are doing. Some key provisions that you should be aware of in Chapter 50 is Section 50-6B1. And I'm going to pull these up so we can kind of review them in just a second, but I just kind of want to say these are the main sections that I think we utilize a lot and we look at a lot, and we just need to be mindful of what is actually in them. So we're going to look at Section 56, 50-6, Section 50-7, Section 50-8, and Section 50-12. So where's my notes? There it is. This should hyperlink me to, yay, the hyperlink works. So this is our City Code of Ordinances. Your authority is Chapter 50. This can be found on the city webpage. I think Bob printed it out for you, so now you have a nice binder that you can review. But I wanted to start with 50-6 and just kind of say that this is the historic preservation, the creation and the purpose of it, one of which is to regulate and look at alterations, demolitions, relocation, and new construction to designated properties. So if they've been designated locally designated, which currently we don't have, but some of which are local landmarks that have considered themselves to be given a designation or a certificate of appropriateness, that's when some of your guidelines come in. So following that, I believe we were going to 50-7. So this is 50-7, which is your designation of local landmarks, landmark sites, and historic districts. What I want to kind of bring you to is once it's been designated and things that you're looking at as the consideration of the designation, the criteria in which you're going to look at, the application, and then the criteria for designation of the property, the value, the location, identifying whether it was a person of significance. Bob does a really good job when any of this comes up of outlining exactly where you're going to look at these things. Then you're going to make your decision as to whether they should be designated as a local landmark, and there's times for appeal. Approval of changes to local landmark site is Section 50-8. This is when you review new constructions, alterations, anything that will be done to the local landmark that's been previously designated. So one of the things to look at is obviously the drawings and the proposed work, and look at the photographs of the existing structure and the adjacent properties, all the information that comes from that. And then you make your motion as to whether they can make the changes. Some of the guidelines that we work with is the width of the building, the height, how the relationship of it. Again, Bob does a really good job of looking at that. One section, I want to remind you that a lot of our parameters and guidelines deal with the front of the building and the facade, not so much the interior structure, but what can be seen from the street and those locations. So that's specifically outlined in these sections about location of, you're looking at the front facade, the exterior of the building, and how it looks from the street that can be seen from the public. So those are your basic guidelines that you're going to review. And then we're going to, once you've reviewed whatever application has come before you, you're going to make a motion. And my guidance for the motion is just to state the motion clearly, make sure the conditions relate to the authority provided in Chapter 50, and be cautious of providing recommendations that aren't required and making them a condition. The benefit to this is a clear motion for the minutes. Staff is clear on the guidance, and the applicant is clear on their requirements. We need to be cautious of adding, I know it's not required, but I'd like you to do this. It confuses the applicant a little bit as to, is that required or is it not required? And if it's not something within the guidelines of Chapter 50, we can't really require it. So while you can, in discussion, maybe make a recommendation, we need to keep it out of the motion of, as a condition, I'd like you to try to do X, Y, and Z when it's not really within our authority to do that. So just making them clear and to the point and to the authority of Chapter 50. Specifically when it comes to the outside facade of structures, to make sure we're not getting into the back of the structure or the interior of the structure or anything like that, keeping the parameters within the authority that was granted to us in Chapter 50. So again, I'm here for any questions. That was a short little nutshell of everything. But those are the main sections that we deal with in Chapter 50. I think it's just a review of, hey, when we have these, and Bob puts the parameters in there to really look at them to make sure we're not going outside of the scope that was delegated. All right. And you guys can have discussion.
Thank you. I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I know I'm wreaking havoc on your email, Stephanie, regarding the CRA application that come through that are in historic districts that need certificate of appropriateness before they can get their grants.
Okay.
That's the proper order, correct? They apply for those grants if Bob determines they're in the historic and have a purview of us, they need our certificate of
Right.
appropriateness.
So the only properties that have to have certificate of appropriateness from us are if they're a local landmark. That means they have a local designation. It's been designated by the commission on a volunteer by a property owner. Then if they apply for a grant, they come in front of this board. And so that was what happened like with the Women's Club or the Magnolia, was they're a local landmark, so they had to come in front of this board for their grant application to move forward. If the only other reviews that you would do is if it's a contributing structure in one of our national districts that are looking to be demoed, then those come before you. And if we ever in the future have any local historic districts, then any contributing structure that would be in a local district would have to come. But right now, we don't have any local districts. All we have is national districts, and we have about 17 local landmarks. So you have about 17 properties that would have to come from you if they got a grant or if a demolition of a contributing structure in one of their national districts.
Okay.
So that's our limitations we have right now.
All right, thank you.
So.
That was exactly correct.
All right. Any other?
Well, my question was, how many properties are, needing to come through us? And you said 17 total.
Yeah, so I actually provided a map for you in your new handbook, and it has all the local landmarks. The last one was a private property that had a house of worship that was done. But there's the list, there's a map, and it has the addresses below, and they're numbered, so that way you can look at a star, see a number, and look on the bottom and see what that property was, what it is. And a lot of them about half of them or more are owned by the city. Most of them are owned by the city, but there are some that are privately owned. So, and we'd be glad to entertain anybody who owns a private property that feels that it has historical value, and we'd be glad to sit down with them and see if they would qualify to be a local landmark if they want that. So,
And the advantage is some of those grant funding for renovations or preservation, correct?
right, some properties can qualify for different grants, and if they have local designation, that can help their application. If they qualify, sometimes applications get graded, and so if you have a local designation, you might have a high grade when you go in front of whatever body it is that's looking for some type of grant outside the city grants.
Just one question that just caught my eye, and I know we talked about it before, around how many demolitions are actually occurring. And I realize it says here that one of our purposes is to continue the survey and inventory of historic buildings. And I just wondered if we've updated what are historic buildings in New Smyrna Beach at all, because now 50 years has changed the number of buildings that weren't considered historic are considered now 5 years later. So I'm wondering,
Okay.
are we responsible for
We
conducting a
have,
survey, or, I mean, you
Well,
probably have a list, but I'm not
Right.
sure.
so we have two national registered districts that have not been updated since 2007. That was the last time they were surveyed. We would love to be able to do an updated survey for those properties. We'd have to reach out and get approval from the city commission to reach out for grant, because I think the last time we did that, it was about 30 or 40 grand, and that was 2007, so I'm sure it's going to be at least $50,000 or more to have a company come and evaluate each one of those properties in both of our national districts. So we want to want grant money for that. So we definitely can maybe next year see if the commission will approve us to apply for grants. And then once we get the grant, then we can put an RFQ out for a company to do that for us. And that we can have the funds, and if it's, since we're a CLG, that could be 100% grant and we don't have to match, so.
Was there any value to us doing an informal survey? Do we need that kind of information when we apply for a grant? That we have 455 properties that would be considered eligible for historic designation? Is that important in terms of going forward with grant applications, or
Well, the survey would update the
which one
state.
comes first?
Ms.
Right.
Beretta Herman, I need you to just grab that mic really close to you, because
Right,
we got to record you.
right.
when
So,
you're-
so it would update the state master site files is what it would be. And so there'd be an updated photo of that property. So I'm sure we can get grants for that because it's been some period of time. You know, so we just have to have, we'd have the city commission approved for us to apply for a grant. And then once we receive the grant, usually what happens is you apply for a grant. If you get awarded that grant, then you use the next year's when you receive the funds. So that gives us plenty of time to get an RFQ out. Once we've been approved for the grant, we can put an RFQ out, and then we can select which firm, you know, because usually get 3, 4, 5 could apply, and then usually we'll pick one of the top 3, and then might come back in front of you guys for an evaluation of those firms, and then we make a selection.
Could we put on our goals for next year, exploring just such a survey of our city under the, you know, in my concern that we're demoing a lot of historic buildings, but also I think I'd love to move toward being able to help homeowners preserve their buildings, and we have some grant possibilities. We just need to explore them.
Yeah, we haven't received any direction from the city commission to even start a grant program of ourselves.
I know.
So, you know, we'd have to have the city commission, would have to give us direction to do a local grant program. So we don't have that. But I know that the deadline for the grants is usually in April. So we have plenty of time that we can get to the commission and see if they would be willing to entertain us even applying for a grant for that. And then we could apply for it in April and then usually select those, I think, in June. And then they're given away July 1st the following year for the next budget, so.
I guess one question, I guess leading up to next year, nothing would really stop us or anybody else performing any type of, or getting a list of noted or known historic properties and doing some kind of windshield survey, you know, driving around of possibilities of properties that could qualify down the road.
Right. We just don't have, the staff doesn't have the availability to do that. We'd have to outsource that. That'd be a large undertaking to do those reports
Yes.
and the photos and submit that to the state. So, and if we can get grant money to cover it, then it would be no cost to our citizens. It'd probably be a win-win. But no, you know, we just staff, we just don't have the manpower to do that.
On
Take
that,
that on.
in answer to your question, Walter, gosh, I bet it's been 5 years that we launched an attempt to look at the possibility of established local historic districts. So we did have an inventory of some type showing there were like 117, I may not be completely accurate, about 117 buildings in the Coronado area district that were historic or contributing, and there were 475 on the mainland. But we never went beyond those areas. And there are a number of homes that I'm aware of outside of that area that would be considered historic. But so we have something we could start with in terms of just a simple inventory.
Right. For a local level, we are not moving forward to try to create any local historic districts unless we have property owners coming to us wanting to create one for themselves. For national districts, you're correct. You could do a national district. They just have to be at least 50 years old or older. But for our local district designation in our books currently now, we don't use the 50-year rule. Our rule for historical structures are from the turn of the century, so they're basically from 1885 to about 1940. That is the period that's been selected in our regulations as was considered historical for New Smyrna.
That's what,
And that's what our national districts were created based on.
oh, yes. Yeah, just for example, my house and also a neighbor's house across the street, they've completely renovated and brought it back to life. And it's turned out to be a real nice property with beautiful live oak, 2-story, and they've done a great job with renovating the home. And like my house was built, I guess one of the old original railroad homes, built in 1910. Their house was built not long after that.
Right.
And so I've been talking to different neighbors on the street, on our street and the abutting street about getting, we can purchase the plaque, since they would qualify under the dates and everything, about just having these plaques placed on the homes along the street and see who would be interested in participating. And I know we're still in the process of doing a lot of native planting and pollinators and attracting butterflies, hummingbirds, and everything else. And so I've started a little mini movement along a 3-4 block stretch along Downing Street. So
That's great. And we do have a plaque program, and I'll kind of go over that later on in the meeting for you guys.
I have a question. So what is the process of owners having to come here to have their, planned future remodeling okayed by us? Because we've had a few residences come, owners of residences come in the last 6 or 8 months, but I see a lot of other properties being torn down and being remodeled that we've never seen those people come here.
Right. So currently, this board does not have the authority over any type of renovation of any structure in the city. The only authority you have is the local landmark designation properties, and if any contributing structures in either one of our national districts are requested for a full demolition, they come before this commission. But that is only the powers that you have. You don't have powers to review anybody's remodeling project. So
Right. So, but I didn't realize, I know that the one house that we looked at, the yellow house that was being torn down on the river, I guess that was designated a historic home, but then there was another lady that came with pretty much a new home being constructed, and that was because they tore down a historic home, and we were, okay.
So the yellow house on the river was a contributing structure. They were asking to be demoed. They were required to come for this board, and there was some conditions of approval that are allowable under Chapter 50, like the architectural monitoring or what the replacement structure to be approved by this commission. That was done. There was another house that was just about a block away that was torn down. That house was not a contributing structure, so they did not have to come in front of this board, and since it was not a contributing structure, there was no authority over what they could put back on that property.
But the one that we were talking about that she wanted to, we had suggested adding windows. I know that you were telling her you needed more light and all that. But that was like a new home, I thought, that she was building.
She got approval to tear down the structure that was there, and
So
she
then-
came back at another meeting with the replacement structure for it to be reviewed and approved, because
Okay.
that was part of the condition of the demolition.
Gotcha.
And yes, when that was reviewed, there was some comments from commissioners that maybe you should put some extra windows facing the side road because it would allow more light into your stairway and different
Right.
areas of the house, yes.
But those are 2 of the 17 that you were speaking of that we,
No, they're not local landmarks. They were just contributing structures in a national historic district.
okay, gotcha.
It's because they were being demolished and they were contributing structures, triggers the review here for the demolition.
Okay.
And under demolition, first you determine, is it a structure that is contributing? If you determine that it's not a structure that's contributing, your analysis goes no much further. And then they can demolish it and go on, and they don't come back and you don't make a motion. If you do determine that it is contributing in a local landmark, your analysis goes a step further, and then do you grant them the approvals for demolition with conditions?
And that gets triggered at permitting.
Yes.
Okay.
There could be a scenario where you determine that the house has been so structurally changed that it's no longer a contributing structure, and therefore its demolition's not going to harm or hurt the city in any way because it's no longer being reviewed as a historically landmark structure at that point in time, that they've done so much renovation that it's taken it out of its historic element. And then that's why your analysis on the first step may be, we don't find this a contributing structure, and therefore we don't need to go a step further, and no more demolition approval needs to come from this board. You can do what you want with your property.
And the designation of a continuing, contributing structure comes from the original documents in '89. So if it was considered a contributing structure when the National Historic District was established, is that correct?
So we have two national districts. One was dedicated in 1990.
But I'm talking about the designation of something being a contributing structure is based on that document.
It's based on the architectural value of the structure at the time that it was had the dedication. So if it was in 1990, and what Shay's trying to say is if they've done so much renovation to that home that it doesn't even look like the home from 1990, or the beachside was 1997, then you have to determine, is it still a contributing structure architecturally or not? And if you feel that it is, then it moves into the second level of the demolition portion, where there could be some conditions. They have to show condition of the home, if that's what they're claiming, or if there's an economic issue. Chapter 50 gives them two different avenues to go to get that approval. And then that approval can have conditions that are spelled out in Chapter 50 that you can choose from.
I think one of the biggest arguments I saw was Flagler. I think it's 120 Flagler that the city purchased, that people argued no longer is historical because it enclosed the porch and it did this, and therefore it's lost its contributing nature. And because it's lost its contributing nature, if that came before the board for demolition, you all could determine it's no longer a contributing structure. We're not going to analyze this any further and go ahead and do what you want with the property. Kind of thing like that.
I
But
have a question. Did you put this in their book? Because this, for the new folks, it shows them exactly what are contributing structures in each of these historic districts.
Yeah, it's in the book.
It's in there, okay.
Yeah.
You guys have this in the new book that Bob did for you? So you can take a look at all the addresses of each of the different properties, and it'll tell you whether it is in a local historic district, which we don't have, we only have national ones, and a contributing structure. So those are the kinds of things that you have to make sure you understand the difference between a non-contributing structure like what a garage or an overhang or something, and a contributing structure that was designated so by the federal government when they did it.
And we've put in a request for these maps to be updated because some of those structures have been replaced.
Yeah.
And we're just waiting for our IT to upload those
Yeah,
for
'cause
us.
this is
Yes.
from at least 5 years
Yes.
ago.
But
Where
you're
is
saying
that in
some
the
of
book, please? Do you know where that is in the notebook?
Do you know where it is in the notebook? This
Yes.
is my own thing that I.
Yes, so, yeah,
No,
so,
Bob, my point is that the designation was made now almost 40 years ago, and we're still operating under that designation. So something that might not have been considered a contributing structure in 1990 or 1997, it could possibly be a contributing structure 40 years later.
correct. It could still be considered a contributing structure, yes. And I believe all the recent demolition applications over the last 5 years, all the structures were deemed still contributing structures, but then they also were approved for demolition, but with conditions or replacements, so.
Thank you.
So I would like to go over the book with you. I've created these for you. I know they're not like professionally done, but I wanted them to be usable so that you guys could use them.
Well, these are very nice, and thank you for all the hard work you put in.
So it was more about the printing was the hardest part. So the first page I wanted to show you was these are the plaques that can be purchased. So anybody has a house that's 50 years old or older, they can purchase one of these plaques. And all they do is get with Stephanie. There's a little application you fill out. We try to verify the year, and basically what it does, it just gives, if they're numbered, so you'd have a specific number on your plaque. This one just happens to be number 45 for someone. And then we have the era of when your house was constructed. If you know that, you put that down, and we try to verify that. And if we verify that it's a little bit older, then we'll let you know that before we order the plaque, because we want everybody to know what they're getting before they, spend a couple $100 or whatever it costs for it. But there are bonds, they're mountable, they're already pre-drilled the holes, so they can be placed on your home. And we do have 50 or 60 of them around town right now. We may even have one, I think, on the outside of this building as well.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to share. I'll make
Sure.
copies of this and
Yes.
I'll scan it and,
All they have to do is get with Stephanie, there's a little bitty application to fill out, and then she can find out what the cost. I know our foundries have changed. The foundry we used got bought out by another foundry, so she'll have to verify what the cost is
All right.
on that. Also, too, I gave you a copy of the Donna Dean Miller application.
Yes.
Right now, currently, we've got one application for residential, so we definitely would love to see some more applications, especially any for non-residential. So we'd like to have those, so that we can maybe come back in December and have you guys choose somebody in December, so that hopefully the commission in January, February can be able to present those.
Yeah, my wife and I were planning on submitting.
Sure.
But haven't finished all the landscape and everything else and a little bit of work to the exterior.
Right, and as commissioners, you can nominate your own property, or somebody can nominate the property for you. It's just that if it happens, you just won't be able to vote that night for any of the applicants. The table of contents, I put that for you, so hopefully maybe you can easily find the different chapters. The first one is just really the commission roster and our contacts as department. That's the page that has the error. I have the wrong vice chair listed that, so we'll get that reprinted for you and have it available at the next meeting so you can put that in your book. But I wanted to make sure that you knew who the staff was for you guys. Stephanie Doster is our planning manager, so she is over us. That's me and Stephanie. And then I'm the senior planner that's assigned to this commission. And of course, Stephanie is our secretary. She's our commission secretary. So she provides that service through the city clerk's office. So when she's sitting there, she's representing the city clerk as a secretary of this commission. I also wanted to give all the commissioner names so that you know each other's name, especially when you have newer folks that are now attending. I wanted to show what kind of term, like what term you guys are in, if it's your second term, first term, third term, and then when your term expires so that you'll know, when it's time for you to ask to be reappointed for that.
Or leave.
Yeah. So, and all the chapters are numbered, chapter 2 I've got here is a chapter 50. So I printed chapter 50 out for you, so you have a nice clean copy of chapter 50. I know Shay went over tonight, but now you can go in there and you can read it yourself. For the third chapter, we put in the comprehensive plan, which is the 13th element, which is historic and archaeological preservation. For number 4, we put in the historic preservation design guidelines. Now, these guidelines were created for us back when we had our first national district, which was 1990. They did these in 1991 for us. They're not a code. They're more of a guidance for you guys, so that you can see about windows and doors and things like that, so that when you're reviewing some applications, it may help you when you're trying to determine if someone's application is still meeting their architectural value. So we put that in there. We like to give those to homeowners as well when they do come to us and say, hey, I got an old house, and we give those guidelines that may help them when they try to pick out materials for their homes. Number 5 is the Preservation Award. So we have another Donna D. Miller application there. And we also have the list of the previous winners up to the one that you just voted on. So that way you can always see what houses have received it. So that way you don't try to nominate someone who's already got the award before. So, number 6 is maps. We actually title it as landmark maps. But it also has the 2 maps from the 2 national districts in there.
They're in there.
I know they're a little small, but at least you'll know the kind of the boundaries of where in the city that they are. Number 7 through 14, we made copies of all the national applications that we know of for the city. So the first one, number 7, even though it's not in the city limits, we were part of that original application from 1971, and that's the Sugar Mill Ruins. So if you've never been to the Sugar Mill Ruins out on Old Mission Road, it's a county park, and it's open during daylight hours, and you can go in there, and there are the ruins back there, and the museum actually has some of the artifacts from there. I think they have some of the cast iron bowls that they used and stuff when it was an actual sugar mill back there. In 1987, we had the El Rey Retro, which is the Handy House. It's on Riverside Drive. That's another private application that they got their national register just for their property. Of course, 1989 was the Women's Club, which is now called the Magnolia. In 1990, we had the New Smyrna Beach National Historic District. In 1997, we have the Coronado National Registered Historic District. Number 12, in 2007, we had the St. Rita's Colored Catholic Mission, which is the museum off of Dust Street. Number 13, we had the Turnbull Canal System that was done in 2007. And then, of course, the Old Fort Park was an archaeological site designation in 2008. So you have the complete applications. There's some photos. Some of the photos are black and white. They're hard to see. Some of them are a lot more clear. Just the older the application, the harder sometimes it is to see those photos. But we wanted to give you that so you know, okay, what properties individually are on the National Register outside of just our 2 districts. And so I wanted to give you those. And then you can see what it took to get those applications, like what kind of work was involved, they mostly is, you have consultants that do it for us, but there's a lot of work involved when you try to create something with a National Register, either a district or a individual property. So we wanted to give you all that. Then there's tab number 15, which is nothing, but we wanted to give you that. That was the last one in case you want to put something behind 15. And we'll be glad to provide you anything or updates as time goes by. I do know that we have some items on that could be on a special election that could change some items of the charter. Depending on what happens with the charter, that could require us to do some amendments to either our comprehensive plan or Chapter 50 to meet our charter. So if we do, we will bring those in front of you for you to review. But right now, there's nothing that's being changed currently that's moving forward. But we're going to wait and see what the voters want to do with the charter, and then we'll take it from there. So, but I wanted to give you the current one we currently have, and that's pretty much it. And we just feel we did handbooks years ago, but I don't think we've given any handbooks out in the last 10 or 12 years. And so I kind of wanted to do something new and fresh, and I wanted to make it big enough that you could put your own stuff. There's little pockets you can put your own stuff in there if you wanted to, and you can bring them to the meeting, or you can just have them for yourself, so that when you're reviewing applications before a meeting, you'll have some guidelines to go on. So.
Thank you very much. Great coffee table book.
Okay. And we picked the color out too. We figured light blue would be a good color. So.
Also, Bob, I want to say that you're concerned about our health, because if all of us can carry this around, it's better than going to the gym.
So, but like I said, each one of you have a Donna Dean Miller Preservation Award application. I have extras in case somebody needed some extras, but yes, we would hopefully by the end of October 31st. If we can get them in by then, that gives us plenty of time so we can get them on your December agenda and hopefully be able to select a winner for those in December. And if you do that, then she can place the order for the plaques, and then we can get them on the commission agenda to so they can be presented to them. So
We may have done this before, and I just don't have it in front of me with the schedule for the meetings for the next year.
yeah, so we don't have that yet, but we have received feedback from different commissioners individually. They want to expand the number of times that we meet per year. And so we were thinking that maybe we could try every other month. That would give you at least every month you'd have a meeting, but then the months that we don't have meetings, we still have that as a soft date in case for some reason we do need to meet as an emergency. So there would be an opportunity every month, but I think the hard one is maybe every other month. They can get your minutes back to you guys quicker and give you more time for discussion, because even if we don't have any items on the agenda, when you're sitting together, you can discuss together, where you can't discuss away from here together. So this is really the only opportunity you have to bump ideas off each other. And so we were thinking that we always want to end in December, so we're probably thinking that every month would start like February, so it'd be February, April, and then we'd skip September, because every year in September, we always get bumped, like this month. The second Wednesday always is a budget meeting, and they kick us. And so now that's why we're here on the third Wednesday this month. So if we just get September out of the way, we won't ever get bumped by the commission on their budget meeting. So we're thinking every other month, starting February and in December. And then if we need to meet more than that, we'll have the soft dates for the other months, just in case if we have something come up. Because if we have a property owner that's looking for demolition, we don't want them to wait months to get in front of you guys. So we want to give them an opportunity to get their application as quickly as possible for you guys to review, and which then can move them into a phase of, if they're looking for a replacement structure, bring that back to you. So we don't want to overburden the homeowner, so we want to give them opportunities. So I'm thinking, just the feedback I received, maybe we'll try every other month. And so in December, we can have a calendar for you guys to look at and approve, and then February would be the first meeting for 2026. Any
think that's-
comments on that? Everybody
good
think
idea.
that,
That's fine with me.
right?
I
Because we
think
used to do every month, and we had a lot of cancellations, that's when we went to every quarter, but it seems like maybe every quarter, you guys, the feedback I'm getting is that's too far apart.
Yeah.
So, and if we can't get a quorum, then now all of a sudden, it could kick an applicant even further down the road, so.
I think too, on those days or those meetings that we don't have any official business, it'd be good to just really look at the Historic Preservation Commission, pages 3, our duties and our
Mhm.
expectations, and try to
Have like
expand
a
on
quiz show.
that. Right.
Right.
Or even invite surrounding
Yeah.
outreach groups that,
I know that we also received, you guys wanted us to see if we can try to do some type of program for these photos, historic photos. So we did move that up the chain of command, so we're waiting feedback on that. But I'm hoping that maybe we can do something maybe in the spring, because that's probably when the prettier pictures would be taken in the springtime. So hopefully at a future meeting, we'll have some more information on that and trying to work with that with the leisure services and their outreach. So, and maybe have some awards or whatever. But I know that was something that you guys had brought up about having some contest or something where people take historic photos around town and then submit them, and then we could have, so we don't have that worked out yet. It moved up the chain. We're just waiting for feedback back down, so,
okay. All right. Any other comments, since we kind of have an open platform, ideas or anything before we go to the Donna Dean and Miller Award section?
I think you went over that.
Yeah, really, I brought that up,
Oh,
was
that's how
just
you
the
wanted to do
discussion. I wanted to let you know where we were at. We have one
Okay.
applicant, and I just wanted to push that we need some more applicants, and
So
so.
October 31st is the key date for that?
Yes,
If
hopefully
we-
they can get them back by then, and that way we can have you guys in December make a decision on something.
Okay, so that's like 6 weeks, so,
Yeah.
I have a question. At the last commission meeting, the McHenrys donated a historic site to the city. Has that been added to this, or how does that fit into our historic places?
So right now, nothing has been added for us. I know that the city manager's office is looking at placing something there, so we're waiting to hear back to see what their decision is. They were looking at maybe some type of signage there, if it's like a monument sign or something like that, that would show that. Because at the end of Clint Street is where our old wharf is. So the old wharf is there at the end, and so, which is a local landmark. The part out in the water is actually a local landmark. But he has donated the road that leads to it, and so I know they are working on trying to put something there. So until we hear back the final decision of what the city manager wants to do, and then have the commission approve what he wants to do, then let's see if we want to add that. But right now,
I'm sorry, who was the "they" that was looking at doing what?
the city manager's office. So Kevin Colbert is our city manager. And so him and Ron Niebert, which is the city manager, is looking into placing some type of monument sign or something there. We just don't know what it is. They want to identify it somehow, but we have not heard back what their decision is. So it was just given to the city, so, we don't know yet.
Okay, thank you.
But they're working on it, so, but as soon as we know, we'll definitely let you guys know.
thank you. All right, that's the last item on the agenda. So any other old or new business besides that? Anybody want to add? Welcome to the commission. Thank you. Thanks for, and thanks for the books again.
I just want to thank everybody that came tonight, because I know the agenda was there wasn't any really lot on the agenda, and all you guys showed up tonight. So I do appreciate you guys coming tonight, and even though the agenda was light, anytime, we can we got a full board here. our
Maybe you
commission
just need to
tonight,
trick us next time.
Other than one new
Yeah.
member that will hopefully be here next
Tell
time.
us we don't have any business next meeting, and then we'll.
Well, hopefully the next meeting, we'll be choosing some Donna Dean Miller Preservation Award recipients, so,
We can't wait to come.
yes.
I just have one thing. I'm sure most of you are well aware that there are some changes being proposed to the city charter. And one of those provisions has tremendously significant implications for the historic preservation movement in our city. And so I just, don't know if anyone wants to talk about it, but I certainly would appreciate if you all just been aware of that change and that proposal, which will basically move, loosen up some of our responsibilities to being optional, not required.
Mm.
How do you feel about that, Bob?
Uh,
As the city planner,
And-
and our
well,
guidance.
As staff, I really don't have any comment. The commission has spoken, they voted to put something on the special agenda, and if it goes, we'll wait and see what the voters say, but as a staff member, we will just do whatever is being instructed by us from the city manager's office and down.
The city website does have a very good explanation of what's being proposed and what are the pros and the cons. So it's laid out for you pretty clearly, I think. So it's worth taking some time to look at it and figuring out how you feel about it, I guess.
Okay. Homework for next week then, or next meeting.
Okay, very well then. Hearing no other business, I will adjourn.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Awesome.